Welcome back, everyone, to Your Confidence Unleashed. These are conversations all about how to break through limiting beliefs to own your unique magic, unleash it into the world with unwavering confidence, and create the life you've always wanted. So we are very happy to have Taryn here with us today. Welcome, Taryn.
Thank you for having me. Unleash that confidence, lady. We love it.
Awesome. So, Taryn, I usually ask the ladies to keep it super short on the introduction side. So, to do just a really brief introduction. But in your case, I would love for you to tell us who you are and what is the magic you create in the world every day. And I would love for you to expand on your company and your mission around what you do, because it's just so special that I would love for you to expand on that in addition to who you are as a person.
Awesome. Well, my name's Taryn Holman and I'm a qualified results coach. I'm a children's author. I have written kids' books. I am also a traditional cacao ceremony facilitator, and I have co-founded a business called Pure Little Heart. So it was probably a business that was born out of becoming a mum to two daughters, and I now have 9 nieces. So just as late as last week, I actually had my first nephew. So
wow,
I was like,
poor guy,
yeah.
poor little kid.
I know. So I said, fun. Poor Reef. He's like broken the boy drought.
I love that.
But this business was born out of, I suppose, seeing my daughters and my nieces and just having a passion to really help them step into their power and authentically own their truth and pursue whatever their pure little heart desires. And we realized that the quickest way to do that is to actually ignite radical self-love in the mums and the grandmothers and the aunties, because that flows through and it's this beautiful flow-on effect, because they need to see those role models. They need to feel that energetically to give them permission to do that too. So we started Pure Little Hearts, and it was just this tiny little passion project, and it's grown over the years, and it's just beautiful to see all of the women and kids that it's actually helped along the way.
Oh my gosh, it's so powerful. I got chills the first time you told me about it, and I just got them again, even though I knew what you were going to say. It's just so incredibly powerful what you're doing, Taryn. It's a beautiful, beautiful mission.
Oh, thank you. But it's together we can make a difference. Like it's all of us banding together. And, you know, confidence by definition, like dictionary definition, is the feeling or the belief that one can have faith in or rely on someone. So self-confidence is just that unwavering self-belief that you'll never let yourself down. And I just keep thinking about if we could actually give the gift of that to our daughters when they're tiny, and they don't have to unravel all of the stuff and unpack it later in life. Imagine what they're going to be able to accomplish.
It seems so simple, right? Like just start them off with all the tools that they need. Oh, that's beautiful.
You know, but I think also now we actually have a better understanding about, you know, from 0 to 8, the programming, the subconscious programming that's occurring. We've got a better understanding about social conditioning and generational trauma. So, you know, I actually did an emotional cleanse with my daughter last night because she had this really embarrassing moment in class. And I was like, I know that that's where limiting beliefs start. It's these little moments in time where something happens, they're really embarrassed, they feel rejected or not appreciated or respected. And that's the start of a limiting belief that gets built on over time. And then all of a sudden we have these stories about ourselves where we can't do this or we can't do that. So I just think if we can do that for our daughters as they're growing, I'm just very excited about what the future generation is going to accomplish.
Oh my gosh, that's so powerful. I work with women in clearing out those limiting beliefs in their 30s and 40s. And it's it always comes back to a time in our processes of clearing. It always comes back to a small moment that they didn't really even know was so important. And it is those little tiny moments of, yeah, feeling
Yeah.
embarrassed or feeling rejected, like you say, and to catch it in that moment, right when it's happened, and to let them know that everything's okay and that they're loved and all of that. It's just, gosh, I mean, it's putting a stop. It's a simple thing that's putting a stop on a lifetime of pain.
Yes, I love
Oh,
it.
amazing. It's
That's why I'm so
beautiful.
passionate about what I do, because I get to work with women and just see the transformation before
Mm.
my eyes with just a few simple little tricks. But on the other side, I get to see that flow into their daughters, and then the retreats and workshops that we run with the girls. It's just amazing. Love it.
How fun. Oh my gosh. Love it. So, Taryn, I imagine that in starting this business and in becoming a coach and in doing everything that you're doing today, the woman that we see before us is a very confident woman, but was it always that way? Or
No,
has it taken
I
some
know.
time?
And this
Can
is
you?
what I share it all the time.
Mm,
So if I rewind 20 years, because I'm 41, so as a 20-year-old, you know, when you went to the B&I breakfasts, for instance, or just some little networking group, I was the girl that when they were about to call me to introduce myself, to say who I was, what business I worked for, my palms were sweaty. My stomach, I didn't know if I wanted to spew or poo, like it was horrible. You know, it's just, I was like terrified. And I felt like I was on stage in front of 5 million people, and my mouth would go dry and like cotton wool. And I'm being as dramatic as I can be, because that's how
it
horrible
was.
it felt. It felt horrible. And probably because I had some story as a 6-year-old where I got up and embarrassed myself. And then I actually created this limiting belief that I hated public speaking
Mm.
and that I was no good at it. And I told myself that over and over and over again. And you know what happens when we repeat things? We convince ourselves that that's our lot in life. So it took a little bit of personal development and a whole heap of work with coaches and different people. And there was one year where I just thought, do you know what? I am sick of my own BS, because I'm saying no to all these incredible opportunities that are coming my way. And I know I'm at the crossroads with my career at the time, of, you know, progressing, and that I needed to start saying yes to things. And I decided that, do you know what? If other people can do it, I can do it. And I'm not going to compare my today with their 10 years down the track. I'm actually just going to say yes and get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And it was really interesting to see what happened that year. So I got invited to go interstate and to sit on a panel. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. And he's like, but you're saying no with your head. I'm like, I know, because I want to say no, but I promised myself that I'd say yes.
Wow.
And he said, okay, you'll be fine. There's only 300 people. And I'm like, you know, my heart sank. But then I just did the research about, well, how can you develop your personal public speaking skills? What do? You can film yourself. You can make sure that you compliment yourself first, and then you critique yourself, and then you compliment yourself next. So we rewire our brains properly. You can practice makes perfect. I actually wrote down every single day for a good 6 months before I noticed any difference. I am a calm, confident, articulate, and entertaining public speaker. I never care about the judgment of others because I always speak my truth. I never feel I'm embarrassed and uncomfortable. I love it. And I wrote that down every day for 6 months. And there was this moment in time where it was like 8 months in that I went to get up, and when I would feel the nerves internally and my voice would start to tremor and my hands would start to shake, that subconscious program, it was like I'd written myself a new little program that I love, public speaking. And all of a sudden, that was my default from that point on. So I think it's really important to realize that it doesn't matter how confident someone appears. I even heard Rihanna, she's amazing. Like, she was saying, you know what, girl, you just fake it till you make it, and you never let them see you sweat. Well, that's just a beautiful segue for anyone that's out there listening, thinking, I'm not that confident girl. I couldn't do that. She can do that because she's lucky. She's had the experience. She's born confident. But that's just not the case. We're all freaking out inside at some point. It's just about whether we lean into the fear and roll with it, or we let that fear stop us from taking action that'll help us progress.
Oh my gosh. Well, you said there were so many little nuggets of goodness in there, but you said a couple of things that really stood out. And the first is that you just got sick of it and you made a decision. Sometimes I think that it almost has to get there for some of us, where we're just sick of our own shit, because at some point that's what it takes, right? We can't put up with our own holding our own selves down, holding ourselves back, not letting ourselves fully live. I think it's beautiful that you got to that realization, and you just made a decision from that point on, even though you were terrified, because that's what you talked about afterwards. Just by making that decision doesn't make the fear go away, but then is when you implemented actual reprogramming work that created the confidence you have today.
But you would see with the coaching work that you do, like me, we really help people step into their power because they just get out of their own way. And I think it was Henry Ford that actually said, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And that gets used a lot in my house when my daughters say, I can't do that. I'm like, knock the T off that, because if you think you can or you can't, it's like, you will be correct. So if you go in with the I can attitude, anything's possible. Actually, the ladies out there need to go and have a look. Oh, maybe I can share it somehow, but it's this little clip of a building. How long do you think it takes to like actually construct a building from start to finish as a general?
Gosh, I have no idea. A year?
Yeah. So there's this little clip of this building getting constructed somewhere in China. I think it was Shanghai. It took them 19 days from start to finish. And it's like this time lapse. And what I love about that is someone somewhere has actually said, we need to do this really quickly. And I believe that we can do it. So there's first a thought that, hey, let's be crazy enough to just dream big and we can do it. Then they've got to induct a whole group of people that jump on board and buy into that energy and vision, and then they complete it. The point of sharing that, though, is really when you think anything's possible and you believe in it, there's always a way. There's always resources. You can always make it happen.
Oh my gosh, I love that story. I often, anytime that I'm feeling down, go outside and sort of look around me, look at buildings, look at cars, look at an airplane flying overhead. Every single one of those things was just a thought. It had to start as a thought in someone's head. And like you said, you just outlined that whole process of enrolling the other people in the vision in order to make it a reality. Believing.
Well, energy is transferable. Now, people can only love you as much as you love yourself. They can only believe in you as much as you believe in yourself. Like, have you ever met someone that's so confident they almost convince you of something that isn't correct? And you're like, hang on a minute, I 100% know my daughter's name. It's not that. So that's the point of how energy is transferable. And I think it's just such a beautiful thing to see women just step into that and believe in themselves is something that sets my heart on fire.
Yeah, It's the reason that I do what I do. And I know it's the reason that many coaches do what they do. To be able to see the actual transformation is
Yeah,
mind blowing.
it's
I actually have
it
my
is. It's incredible.
clients record a video before we start with answering a couple of questions. And so that they can actually see the difference. Because sometimes when we're in the process of transforming and of stepping into our power and of really evolving, we don't even realize how far we've come.
I know it is a beautiful thing to just like look back and see the journey. I just, I think also in this day and age, people are impatient. They want
Mm,
that instant gratification of, like I can't public speak today, but tomorrow I want to be an expert. And then if they're not, they're so hard on themselves. People that I coach, their inner critic, she is the nastiest little piece of work I've ever met.
yep, for sure. Yeah, we're much more
So
critical of ourselves than anyone else ever could be. Yet we're
I say that
terrified
and
of
I'm
what
like,
other people could think, but our thoughts are much meaner.
you would never speak to your daughter the way that you criticize yourself. You'd never criticize your mom or your best friend the way that you criticize yourself. Yet at times, if you don't get that under control, it can just be so detrimental to any progress that you want to make. So getting that nasty girl under control is very important.
Absolutely. It's interesting that you touched on the impatience. I often compare our personal development journeys to our physical development journeys. It feels like people are much more okay with and understand the fact that the perfect body, the perfect health condition is not going to happen overnight. They know,
Mm,
even though they would love to go to the gym one time and have six-pack abs, they know that that's not realistic. Yet
yep.
sometimes in the personal development space, or, developing that confidence or feeling like they're great at something, they do want that to happen overnight. Do you
I
find the
know
same
it
thing?
is 100%. People just get so impatient and they're so critical of themselves. Oh, I should. They should all over
Mm.
themselves. I say, don't should on you, don't should on me. Like,
Yeah.
it's really important not to be impatient with yourself. And those little things are like little flexes to build your confidence
Mm.
muscle.
Yeah.
And we often give, I often give my clients lots of little tasks so they can prove to themselves that they can rely on themselves. And that is the beginning of that confidence. But it takes time. It's not going to happen in 2 seconds. It's putting in the work. Like I said, I wrote that affirmation down every day and read it regularly before it became this hardwired, default of when I was up there speaking, that's actually what popped in and what I felt, and I could finally relax.
Wow. You touched on this a little bit in the beginning too, and just now again, with sort of trusting ourselves to to be able to do all of the things that we want to do. I think I self trust is a big piece of that. And
Mhm.
oftentimes, I love that you give your clients little tasks in order to prove to themselves that they can actually trust themselves. Because what people don't know oftentimes is that when we are breaking promises to ourselves over and over again and telling ourselves that we're going to change, we're going to do something differently, a lot of times it's with diet or exercise, right? I'm going to the gym starting on Monday, or I'm going
Yep.
tomorrow. Every time we don't do it, our subconscious stops trusting us. So
Yeah, we're
doing,
letting ourselves down.
yeah. So
Yeah.
of course
It,
that inner critic is so mean, right? Because we don't trust ourselves.
like I've been there. I've
Yeah,
watched you hit
I
snooze
don't
for
believe
the
you.
last for the
Yeah,
last month.
yeah. Well, I mean, if you think about having a friend who told you, "I'm going to call you tomorrow," and then they don't call you, and then they say, "Oh God, so sorry, things just got busy. I'll call you tomorrow," and they don't.
Yeah.
And then they say, oh, things just got so crazy, they're so hectic. I'll call you tomorrow. At some point, not after very much time, you would really get sick of their shit. And
Yeah,
you,
you're like, you know what? I don't try. You're never gonna ring me, so I'm like out of here.
yes,
Yeah,
yeah. So we do that to ourselves every day.
we do. But like, again, believing in yourself, you're halfway there.
Yeah.
Theodore Roosevelt had it right. Like when we believe in ourselves, we are really halfway there. So it comes back to that self-belief. And I do believe that the matrix that we live in, it has taken us so far away from living in our heart space and living in alignment. And have you seen the little clip that it's Miranda off Sex and the City? I forget what her real name is in real life. What's that actor's name? Do you know?
Something Nixon, Cynthia Nixon, maybe?
Maybe that's it. But
Okay.
she actually does this clip and it's something like a girl. Have you seen this?
I haven't, no.
It is amazing. And that just to me sums up the pressure that we have. It's like, look this way, wear a short skirt. What are you doing? You're such a hoe. Put pants on. Like, wax this. Go work out. Your body's too thin. Now you're too fat. Be a girl or be a lady, they say. That's what, and it's this clip that like goes through all of this stuff. But the amount of advertising that we are bombarded with in this day and age, and what that actually does to our subconscious, constantly, we're not enough, we're not enough, and not enough. It is no surprise that you add the generational trauma and, imagine the stuff that's being handed down to us from one generation to the next. And you look at the difference between what a woman's role was way back when to now. It's no wonder that there's this real confusion that women are embodying. And I mean, you only have to look at the stats. I think it's something like 14% of women suffer from anxiety compared to 7% of men.
Wow.
It's almost
I would have
double.
thought that number was higher.
I know, but it's almost double across the globe of women that are walking around feeling really anxious about stuff. And, I think that's a lot to do with it.
So Taryn, how you talk a lot about self-belief. Maybe for some of the women listening, that feels really far away from them. It feels sort of like a concept, and it feels like one of those things that maybe they tell themselves like, that's nice for you. Yeah. But I don't have that ability or that, or, in this moment, I don't believe in myself. What are some of the things you've told us, some of the, the affirmations that you've written down? Is there anything else that you've done to sort of cultivate that belief in yourself over time?
I think there's so much stuff that you can do. Getting a coach, obviously, is the quickest way to fast track your results. But for women at home that are like, I can't afford that, what's the stuff I can do in my everyday? The very first thing I say to people is get a gratitude journal and find moments in every day to be grateful, because gratitude helps you change your lens. The experience of our life is just based on the lens that we are viewing our life with, right? And gratitude is a very simple practice that people can start straight away. And I like the gratitude journaling and finding things to be grateful for, because it doesn't matter if you are in a really dark, terrible place and you have nothing but the sun will come up tomorrow to be grateful for, but it's just that 10 minutes of focused attention that can really help. I also love that's going to help change and get you in the right frame of mind.
Well, I love that you say that it's changing the lens too, because so many people talk about gratitude and it feels sometimes, some of my clients have said like, that's sort of like, it's like, just think positive, but you're describing exactly what it does for us. It's changing that lens, and it's not just, put on a smiley face. That's not what it is at all.
No, I am not about, I'm definitely not about that. Don't get me wrong. Like, I have terrible moments, but I can actually recognize that I have the choice and there is space between what happens and my response. That's the real spirituality right there, that beautiful space in the middle. It's not when we're on the yoga mat. It's not when we're meditating. It's when we're living our lives.
Mm-hmm.
And the more grateful you are and the more you can focus on your breath, the better the outcomes are. So gratitude journal would definitely be one thing. The other thing is actually just get a power pose, right? Like put your shoulders back, stand up tall, and think about the perfect version of you. I want you to imagine, like, who is she? How does she respond to things that upset her? What is she doing? How much money is she making? What are her relationships like? I want you to envisage it so clearly. And I want you to even something that helps is life scripting like that, and recording a little voice memo on your phone and putting it in your ears right before you go to bed every night. Now, I love this because I work with lots of busy mums and we don't have time for these big practices, but guess what? We're always tired every night. We're always going to go to sleep at some point.
Yeah.
And if you can put this in your ears and listen to your own voice about, I wake up at this particular time, say it's 5 a.m. in the morning, and I get out of bed, I bounce out of bed because I have so much energy. I am so motivated. I hit the yoga mat, or I go for my walk, or I go to gym. It feels incredible because I know that I'm nourishing my body. I know that I'm looking after myself. And then if I'm healthy, then I will actually be in an optimal physical like state to then like be in a great emotionally regulated state. So if you're actually doing all of that and you're talking in your perfect life script and you're listening to that and you're visualizing it every night, guess what happens to your subconscious overnight? It can't differentiate between what's real or imagined, and it goes to work to actually creating all of that to be your reality. So
as it has gone to work to create the reality you have now.
Totally.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that
Love
I would do. I would also put my favorite affirmations, like actually laminate them and stick them in the shower. Put your shoulders back, do that confident power pose that you have, and read them out loud every morning. We all have to have a shower every day.
Yep.
It's about condensing the time for things with me. I want to, I actually want to help women make their life easier. I feel like sometimes coaches want to pile a load of stuff on and it feels so overwhelming. I'm all about clear your schedule from anything that's not setting your soul on fire, and then let's replace that with stuff that's going to help you really progress. And if we can be really efficient with our time by doing that, then let's do it. So the life scripting, the affirmations, just eating whole foods. Like people underestimate our diet. There are so many chemicals in the food that we eat today, and just eating a whole food based diet can really, really help you with your health. And it's like a computer system, like if we're not processing foods and we're really sluggish, then when another program like emotional regulation's trying to work, or we're trying to feel confident in a moment, it's like that much harder for us. So that's another
also like telling our brain too that we care about ourselves, right? That we care about ourselves enough to nourish our bodies. It's like the same as it would be to tell yourself that you're beautiful. Every time that you put a healthy food in your body, it's teaching you that you care about you.
Totally. And then I would do this awesome little exercise, which the beautiful Lucy Allen told me when I was interviewing her at Pure Little Hearts. And it's an exercise to squash your inner mean girl. So we're talking about that inner critic that we all have before. Really to give yourself the separation that you often need if you give that inner critic a picture, so I always say to my clients, think about someone that you hate with every bit of you, or someone that's on the internet, like one of those characters that you're like, oh, I could just punch you from your face. This is the sort of person that you want to come to mind when that inner critic pipes up. And when the inner cheerleader, you think about the person that is just your biggest and best supporter in the world. When that inner critic pipes up, you picture that person and you get your inner cheerleader to come in and actually stick up for you. So whilst you can feel a little crazy at the start doing this, ladies, I know that sounds so crazy. It's such a simple exercise that can really create the space that you need to realize that nasty voice isn't me. And I don't have to listen to it. Because if that person was standing in front of me saying those things to me, I would probably tell them where to go.
I wouldn't let them.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's a really good
Powerful
exercise for little girls as well, because they're really fun. They use their imagination. But so my eldest daughter, her inner critic was just, it was heartbreaking to watch how much she would beat herself up. It was just from tiny too. So we actually did that exercise. Her nan, the nicest human on the planet, my mother, that was her inner cheerleader. And it really helped her to just get rid of it.
Oh, I love that. I love that, Taryn.
Can be the difference of having a really loud inner critic that
turn it down,
deafening, to just, she's on mute. She doesn't exist anymore.
Oh, I love that. I love that. That's beautiful. Taryn, if you could give the woman on the other side of the screen, you've given so much advice already, but one who is just really struggling with confidence, but wants to step into making her vision a reality, is there one last piece of advice that you would love to offer her?
Invest in yourself and get help. That's it. It's like make a decision that you deserve better. You know that you do. And then invest in yourself and get help. There are so many beautiful coaches that you'll just automatically resonate with and align with. That is their role, to be your cheerleader, to hold the torch, to shine the light on the way for you to find your way back home and live in alignment, and to really just ignite radical self-love. That's what it's all about.
You don't have to do it alone. I love that.
It's together we can make a difference. And it's just about reaching down and helping women along the way. And at every level, there's people that are more advanced that you can seek help from, but you don't have to do it alone.
Beautiful. Thank you. And Taryn, you also have a beautiful gift that you would like to offer our audience for free. Do you want to tell them about that?
Yes. So it's the Confidence Unleashed Guide. So what we're going to do is actually give you an action planner and daily email will drop into your inbox with little tasks. So this is actually going to help you flex those confidence muscles. They're fun. You get to tick them off. You feel really accomplished, and you just never know, at the very end of the 7 days, you might get another surprise for accomplishing it. So
very cool.
That will be live just for your beautiful community.
Amazing. Thank you so very much, Taryn. It has been such a pleasure to have you with us today, and just to learn from your experience, to hear about your beautiful mission. And we're just very grateful to have you here. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for the opportunity to be here. And, people can reach me at Pure Little Hearts if they're interested in having a chat about anything that we've talked about. This is my jam. I'm so passionate about it. So I'm happy to continue to share if anyone needs assistance or support.
Amazing. Thank you, Taryn.